If one of your friends had an "I know a guy" moment and then called you, what would they be calling you for? I work on a farm and can access ungodly amounts of fresh fruit. I've got that hookup and it's like the opposite of a pyramid scheme. They drop off more fruit than a family could eat in a season, and I have to distribute it to my friends who often get enough to share with their friends too. It's like the opposite of a pyramid scheme. So you're saying more like an inverse funnel system, huh? What's this from? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Season 9, Episode 4. Dee and Charlie get tricked into an MLM, and when confronted about it being a pyramid scheme, they say no, it's a reverse funnel system. Thought I'd heard it somewhere. I'm a lawyer, I get that call 5 times a day. My sis is a lawyer, been practicing for maybe 6 years? I've never asked her for legal advice because I know everyone else probably does. However, she'll get a call like, "Hey, sis, so hear me out. If the purge was real, and on purge night I were to make someone sign over the deed to their house, would I be able to keep the house afterward?" I like to think up random scenarios for shit goals. Why am I so curious to know the answer to that question, lol. So, I wouldn't get into trouble for forcing them to sign it over, of course, purge and all. But, they could later argue in court that they signed the deed over under duress. But would signing under duress matter if there were no laws on that day? It's been a running joke at several of my jobs that if you need a random thing, I probably have it in my bag. I generally carry a bike messenger bag with all the functional things. Tools? Sewing kit? First aid? Snacks? Tape? Things to distract your kids? I got you. Someone was messing around with a pair of handcuffs at a wedding, I know, dumb joke. I can't remember if he handcuffed himself to someone or something. No one had a key, they were 4 decorations, along with the ball and chain. Panic ensues. I go out to my car, rummage through my purse and bring in a key. Problem solved, but I got a lot of incredulous looks, because I am an old grandmotherly type. My FIL was a cop. My kids would routinely lock each other or themselves to S, so I had a key on my keychain. Got called for jury duty and thought nothing about it because it's just a key, except with felons in cuffs at the courthouse. The bailiff at the security desk was not amused, but when asked why I had it, you could see he realized there's no way someone would make that story up, so he let me put it back in my car. I gave the explanation really stupid friends that make really, really stupid bets, with really stupid regularity, and got a knowing, exhausted nod. You need complex surgery and insurance claims they won't cover it? I'm your gal. I've had an autoimmune condition since childhood. Last year, I had to have major reconstructive surgery for a complication so rare there are less than 200 documented cases of it worldwide. Normally, insurance doesn't cover the surgery, nor the preoperative and postoperative orthodontic treatment needed as part of the surgery. Total cost of the whole process typically runs into the 6 figures, and that's with insurance coverage. I fought tooth and nail and researched hundreds of pages of insurance documentation, got second and third opinions, etc. Managed to get insurance to cover everything: the braces, the surgery, week in the hospital, etc. Only thing I ended up having to pay was a $60 copay. Obligatory American healthcare sucks ass, but for anyone facing complex surgery where insurance coverage is iffy, I'm your gal. Good lord, that is a very useful, if dystopian, skill to have. Indeed. My brother called me the other day to settle a dispute with his wife. He wanted to know how fountains in ancient Rome worked. Apparently, I'm the ancient Roman fountain guy. Edit for people asking. I'm not an expert on ancient Roman fountains. His wife suggested gravity, whereas he was thinking the fountains somehow recirculated water with a pump. I think this would be a very bad idea since people probably bathed and washed their clothes in fountain, and a constant supply of fresh water would be really important, and gravity is free and always works. Romans are famous for their aqueducts and plumbing. This is still how it works as far as I know. But once again, I am not an expert on this. This won't stop my brother from asking me things like this or other things like how dogs know they're supposed to like bones. Apparently, I'm the dog psychology guy. Are you just going to leave us hanging like this? To be sure, I'm not an expert on the topic, but I believe the answer is gravity. What really blew his mind was when I asked him how he thinks his kitchen sink works. I work on garage doors. Seems like a mundane job, but your garage door is something you never think about until catastrophic failure. Edit, it's worth mentioning, do not work on garage doors if you don't know what you're doing. Those springs above the door are under hundreds or thousands of pounds of tension depending on the size of the door. And the door itself can weigh the same amount. Garage door springs absolutely terrify me. As a mechanical engineer, springs in general scare me. I can think of no other mechanical system that both looks innocuous but is actually storing a stupid amount of potential energy. If you see an anvil 100 foot in the air, you think damn that could do some damage, but a spring looks like a spring all of the time. Is it a tension spring? A compression spring? Could fool you either way. Tension spring under tension is maybe just a relaxed compression spring and vice versa, and then POW. Bang! Right in the kisser. Edit, pressure tanks too, guy below me is so right. Torsion springs are nothing to mess with. Think of a mouse trap. That little spring can give you a good snap. A rat trap isn't much bigger and can break a finger. Now look at that garage door spring and imagine the trap it would be on. Probably kill a moose or seriously injure an elephant. Then look at yourself. You are a lot smaller than a moose. Don't mess with torsion springs. I used to work on air-cooled VWs and the rear suspension was a torsion spring. We used a big chunk of chain to hold them when we needed to mess with that I adjusted mine once after many videos online and with correct torsion bars. October 10th would never do it again. I was terrified, but broke at the time. I kinda want to throw out my torsion bars now, that's how little I want to ever be tempted to do it again. Yep, was cleaning out relatives' garage, they tinkered with cars and had a ton of nice, usable tools that would cost a fortune to buy today. Found an old set of manual spring compressors and immediately realized if I didn't get myself killed trying to use them someone else would. Scrapped them just to be safe. I'm amazed they sell them to the general public tbh. I have pretty intimate knowledge of nearly every out-of-the-way hiking trail system in our state. I'm talking the ones no one ever goes to, that are oftentimes not even cataloged on maps or trail finders. I'm extremely familiar with their locations, lengths, difficulty levels, and amount of traffic they might see. I'd be the one they'd call if they've a body to hide. And I'm not proud of that. Oh, you want Corpse Canyon. Now the key is, put it at least halfway in. If they ever start pulling bodies out, it will hit the news before they get that far in so you can make plans. Also, there is a trail etiquette there. If you see someone there, you didn't see anything. No commenting on shovels or oddly oversized duffel bags in the middle of the night. Courtesy goes both ways. Yeah, if you hit Carnage Chasm, you've gone too far. Gotta bury bodies vertically also way hard for search crews. Random trivia. I'm not really an expert on anything, but I know a bit about a lot of stuff. I've had people call me to ask the most random questions and then say I knew you know. That's what I'm known for. Vast amounts of completely useless and trivial knowledge. Have I just found my people? I'm the one to call when you need a pub trivia teammate that's way more ancient Greece and way less The Bachelor. That's me too. I always say I don't know a lot, but I do know a little about a lot. Absolutely kill on pub quizzes. Yeah, me too. I think some of us just have a general fascination with everything and end up soaking up tons of interesting but useless knowledge. A friend was playing the Trivia Crack mobile game years back and he commented it's fun, but some of this stuff is obscure crap nobody knows. Like, what was the capital city of the Aztec Empire? I just smiled and replied Tenochtitlan. I don't even know how to pronounce that even though I know that. Any form of tech support or IT work, or if they're looking for song but only remember a few lyrics. My computer is so slow. I think that one's my least favorite. I literally just use the Geek Squad method where they clear out the temp files and then adjust the performance settings. Doesn't actually do anything besides make the mouse move a bit faster and the start menu open a little bit quicker. If they complain about that not doing enough, I'll go to their startup and shut down some of the unnecessary pop-ups. They're always so thrilled that it's working so much faster. Damn, haven't had this request yet, but I'll definitely save this comment. While I'm still at school, most of the people I hang out with are anywhere from decent to good with computers. I kind of dread receiving my first proper, annoying/bad, IT help request. I typically work with old people. And they're usually running something along the lines of a 2008 HP 1700 that still runs Windows 7. It's got all of 2 gigs of RAM, and they refuse to update any of the hardware, so I do what I can to make it quicker, but they need to just buy a new laptop. Oh yeah, of course they don't need new hardware, you're just trying to sell me something. Yep, definitely. Meanwhile, all fans are as loud as jet engines from all the dust buildup. The CPU is on fire and the battery is so bloated it's about to pop out with the entire backplate. I mean, even if it's basically a placebo, what makes the client happy, works. Also, do you work a tech support job, or just get many requests? I used to be a cable guy in the Villages, Florida. Entire retirement community, and frequently while I was fixing their internet they'd give me the old "can you fix my computer while you're at it?" And after years of doing that I built up a clientele where they still call me religiously to come out and fix their. Honestly, that's great. A lot of people hate the more basic stuff, but if they treat you right it's some of the easiest money you can make. IMO. Oh, definitely about cats. I'm a dog person. Just spent the past 5 days cat sitting for a friend. Now I want a cat of my own. You should get a cat. I'm 30 years old and I have never purchased a cat for money, or waited more than a few weeks when I decided I was able to take on a cat. They just materialize out of the woodwork when you need them. I have had a cat that just turned up at the back door and asked to come in. Another time I decided I could take a cat, and within days my friends rescued a cat from an abandoned building and got on Facebook to find her a home. I swooped in and grabbed her. The cat I have now came to me because my cousins and I have a friend called Ethan who lost his keys in the woods while we were hunting. His sister was coming with his spare keys and found him in her driveway. She already had some cats, so she texted a picture to see if anyone could take him, and I didn't even have to see it before I knew I was going to be going over to Ethan's sister Lexia's house as soon as we could catch all the hunting dogs. It's the cat distribution system. You don't pick a cat. They pick you. Exactly. They know when there is a vacancy and they coordinate to send the appropriate representative of their species to make sure OT is filled. That explains how I got my cat Sammy, who broke into my apartment 8 years ago, lol. Excel, sadly. I'm adept but not an expert with it. My friends are just really bad. Same. I'm probably a 3 out of 10 at Excel because Excel can do so much. Most people out there are a 1 out of 10, so they are impressed. My secret, YouTube videos. I'm a staff accountant on a team of 20+ people, including controllers and up. Everyone comes to me for help building functions, macros, or working with Power Query. I don't consider myself anywhere near an Excel guru, but among accountants who use it daily, I'm the guy that everyone reaches out to. I even frequently get calls from employees in other departments because they heard I was the guy who could help them. And yes, I have gotten calls outside of work situations for help with Excel as well. You don't need to be an expert, you just need to know how/what to Google when you are lost. The art of finding an answer is invaluable. Several different things. I am youngish, fairly strong, know how to move things, and have a pickup truck I will drive anywhere for the cost of gas. Later today I'm going to go help a guy get a new fridge. I also know a little bit about a lot of things, so I often get asked random, typically nerdy/science related questions. I also hunt, have guns, and ammunition. So occasionally I get asked how to get into guns and hunting, or questions relating to such. What's a good cartridge for a vaguely human-sized animal, magazine capacities, hollow points versus ballistic tips, and where's a good spot to dispose of animal carcasses? We would get along. A truck and a dolly go a long way. Buying a dolly was one of the best purchases I ever made. It's amazing how much easier moving furniture is with one. My husband calls me all the time to identify certain bugs or snakes he finds at work. I'm never wrong and can usually ID it immediately. Every once in a while, I may need a second on Google, like if he finds an invasive species, because I know the family it belongs to but can't remember its specific name. He thinks it's a superpower or something. I tell him over and over again that knowing the different, potentially harmful, creatures that live in your state is something most people should know. But his co-workers think it's pretty neat. They send him photos on his days off all the time asking him to ask me if a spider in their house is dangerous or not. It's also limited to my state and the surrounding areas, or unless it's a particularly dangerous species like the Sydney funnel webs, inland taipans, sea kite, or Brazilian wandering spiders, which, fun fact, if bitten by, can give men raging hard-ons before possible death. I enjoyed that fun fact. I had a friend who brought his friend who was shot in the arm to me. They didn't want to go to the hospital to raise a suspicion that they were part of this fight. I had lovely white carpet and they're coming through my back door patio unannounced, bleeding. I'm a trauma nurse. I'm not a surgeon. I let them know this. And I threw some towels down. I tried to talk them to go to the hospital and they said that there was just no option and asked whatever I could do would be fine, they'll deal with it. So I went to try and do some compression steri strips that I had, but that was not working. They had managed to pull the bullet out and it didn't look like it hit anything major. But the arm, come on. It was bleeding badly. How could I be sure? They asked if I was sewing kit and I said that's not really safe, sterile, or standard practice, nor is it sharp enough. They also asked if I had a bottle of alcohol and a washcloth he could bite down on. Okay. It turns out the needle was sharp enough, with a couple of needles being used. It was sewn up, it was bandaged up to a goddamn hell. And I didn't hear from the kid again. But my friend told me that it healed up okay and there's a scar, but nothing happened infection-wise. OMG. Adding to that, pretty much any time I left work if I went into a store with scrubs on. Which is not my standard practice nor do I like doing, but if I have to I have to. Pretty much anybody who sees somebody in scrubs will come up to them and then start flashing them a body part asking them about a condition/symptom and what I think should be done about it. I hope it was not continuous stitch. LOL. I'm usually the brute. Couldn't open something? They'd find me. Couldn't lift something? They'd call me. Couldn't do certain yard work? I was a call away. If it required little brain and many muscle, I was the guy to help out. Which kind of sucks because the friends of friends that I'd help out would all think I wasn't that bright, so a bunch of them talked to me like I was stupid. Still, I was the big dude who did big things. I know the ins and outs of railroading. One time someone I know referred a small city mayor, who I also know, to me for advice about a land dispute between UPRR and their little town's main road. In the end, I gave him the information he needed to resolve the problem without bankrupting the city and also solving another problem along the way. When I poop after I eat brisket, the bathroom smells amazing, even to people who aren't me. One of my guests came out of the bathroom once and said, "Do you guys have a slow cooker in there?" So I guess if anyone wants their bathroom to smell like wonderfully smoked barbecue for 20 minutes, they could call me. Though no one has yet. A friend once called me, in Texas, from Vermont, because she, her husband, and their friend had set the parking brake on his pickup truck and couldn't figure out how to release it. This truck is slightly similar to your husband's truck. Can you help us? I could. It's this weird thing where to engage the brake there's a pedal but to release it there's a handle. Another friend once called me because her hamster had escaped and once I'd referenced having read about how to recapture an escaped pet rodent. My siblings have all called me mid-recipe or mid-cooking disaster to ask how to salvage what they're making. So I guess it's like random practical knowledge? I have a lot of stories like that from the pre-Google days. I'm the person you know that you think, I bet she could help with this about some random trivia. Now it's second nature to just Google it. Bears. I'm from Canada, a country with bears. I grew up camping, so I know about bears. Never studied or researched them or anything. Yet I was roommates with a guy from England, a country with no bears, who for months would constantly randomly text me questions about bears. I would always answer, but I never got any context as to why he was asking. Most likely help setting up a Reane 3D printer. I spent about a year familiarizing myself with one when I impulse bought it at the beginning of COVID. Now anytime someone has a random question about how one works, I'll get a DM. I'd still be going at it, but I need to replace a part and don't currently have the funds to do so, so the old gal is sitting pretty in the garage until I can make it go again. Foot on your fake leg fell off? I'm your man. Been working in prosthetics for 10 years and since I wear one myself I have all the tools at home. Need an adjustment? Let me bust out my mini torch and a Dremel. If anyone is into biking and has the tools for them, a lot of them are the same as what we use in prosthetics. For example, almost everything uses a 4, 5, and 6 mm hex key, which is pretty standard in cycling. I bet you have some excellent stories. Honestly, outside of actual work, not much. I'm waiting for the day someone calls on me for it though. Funniest thing I've seen at work has to be after I did a cosmetic foam cover for somebody, shaped it to look like their leg. We put a lifelike silicone skin over it and attached that with silicone glue. The leg holds on with suction, so the air in the socket gets pushed out the bottom. Normally this isn't an issue, because the glue job on the skin is never perfect and always allows the air to escape. But on this one person the seal was perfect, so every time they took a step it would essentially pump air into the skin, inflating it like a balloon. They came in with their leg pumped up to the size of an infant's torso. It was the best thing ever, LMAO. A couple strategic holes poked in between the toes solved that problem. Me with over 40 years in all aspects of the mortgage world. Unfortunately, most call me after they already signed documents that they didn't understand or didn't ask pertinent questions. Like any industry, not all mortgage people are competent, reliable, or just good at their jobs. Most asked question: what is APR? Large-scale food processing, random knowledge, and home renos. Basement flooded on the long weekend? I'm likely the first call. Don't know if that wall is load-bearing? Call me to talk to my husband. My dad is the perfect guy to call for random trivia answers. No idea how he does it. Am the guy who knows a guy. I worked for 4 years as a bar manager and got to know hundreds of people and their occupation. One time we had a pipe come loose at the sink in the kitchen. I knew one of our regulars is a plumber, called him into the kitchen and he fixed it for a pitcher of beer. Stuff like this always happens where I know a guy who can either help because of his profession or knows the answer to a question. My friends and I have been playing Dota 2 for almost 10 years now. A couple years ago, I was already chilling in my bed, getting ready to sleep. Suddenly I get a phone call from one of the boys. I picked up the phone, worried that something happened to them. Nope. They were just playing a game and having issues with breaching their high ground. These lads called me to ask for item suggestions. We quickly go over the situation, teams, I suggest a couple of alternatives and go to sleep. The next day I found out that my suggestions had helped and they had won the game. Help with most mental illnesses. Usually, family members of someone with a mental illness trying to understand them or get resources. I'm not a professional and never went to school for anything related to that field. I've lived through a lot and have a plethora of diagnosed mental illnesses. Many since I was a young child and many because it was left untreated. I'll never tell people what to do or what their loved one is thinking. I'll tell them about my relatable experiences and offer a list of local and online resources. I've noticed that most times people are scared and feel alone and just want to know they're not, and that feeling lost is a common part of the experience. I also get asked for help with rats. I love animals and took a special interest in rats. They're extremely misunderstood and amazing. In Canada, there's not much information and much of it is conflicting and guesses. Vets who are truly knowledgeable about rats are hard to come by for the most part. I'm not saying this as a judgment, they'll tell you that they see rats but aren't experts. I've reached out to organizations in Britain and South Africa and they've sent me boxes of information that they have. I paid the shipping as that's costly and I appreciate it so much. I've been able to learn so much more and even helped some vets learn some information. For the ones that ask or are truly interested, I don't go around giving unsolicited advice. Because I'm not a professional, I will always suggest that people take their rats to a vet, especially medical related. I'll let them know about my personal experiences and what I've read. Common questions I will address are things that are safe or not safe for rats regarding food and environment. People also ask me how to make their property uninviting to wild rats without harming them. Many felt uncomfortable asking and many always will because to them they see it as asking a rat lover how to keep rats away. Once I explain that I too don't want wild rats staying on my property, the same way people have dogs and don't want wolves living in their shed, they feel more comfortable. And to anyone out there, if there's something you don't want, ask the people who love it. They'll tell you the better ways and or the harsh truth for the most part. Rubik's Cubes. My kids' friends will bring me them to solve when they get stuck. A mate recently messaged me to send him a video of me blind solving one as he was visiting family and wanted to show them it could be done. So many things, but normally they'd say I know a guy who knows a guy. As so many random things I've done or acquired for people. Do you know a guy who knows a guy that owns a music venue in Los Angeles? Asking for a friend. Interesting enough, I do work in the events industry and yes, I would know a guy. A lot of corporate gigs gets you to know many people. Remember, unfortunately it's not what you know, it's who you know. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.